MVP working for Qdabra software. Today I'll be talking about REST data services and how you can use InfoPath to pull data from REST into your forms. So as usual, this webinar requires audio. If you don't have any, you can't hear me right now. But this video will be available afterwards on the web. I believe Marcy is recording it right now. So we're going to start off with an explanation of what REST data services are, and then a walkthrough of how to use them in InfoPath. And I'll follow that up with a demo of an example of using REST Netflix's OData service in InfoPath form. I'll follow that up with up to 20 minutes of Q&A time. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, REST is a type of web service used for sending or retrieving data across the World Wide Web. It was defined in, or the term was coined in 2000, I should say, but it's been gaining popularity recently. As a lot of you who've been using InfoPath probably know, SOAP is another type of web service that's been around about the same amount of time, but there are some considerable differences between how they work. The REST is designed to be somewhat more intuitive than SOAP. It uses GET to retrieve data, POST or PUT to upload data or put data, and then delete to remove data. We can compare this to SOAP, which operates mostly on POST requests, I should say. Another difference is that the request and response format are not standardized, aside from sending the data across HTTP. Often the data is requested simply by using a URL, and the data is often sent back using XML or JSON, but it could be pretty much anything. The idea is that you use the URL to request a certain bunch of data, and then the service sends it back to you. And as we see here, resources are identified hierarchically by URL oftentimes. So this is a comparison of what a SOAP request looks like versus a REST request. So as we can see here, we've got pretty much the same number of headers. The SOAP one has a couple more. The SOAP is just indicating the URL of a service, and then the action is specified through an HTTP header, and then the whole request is wrapped in this HTML of an envelope, a body, a method name, and then the parameter value. By comparison, the SOAP request is pretty much just the GET URL. We've got GET here, and then the service, and then underneath that we see the hierarchical. This is retrieving some departments within a college and a university system. So both are requesting pretty much the same data, but in their own particular way. And then the response. As we can see here, headers are pretty much the same. Now the SOAP request is wrapped in this bunch of outer tags. We've got an envelope and a body inside that, the name of the method, the name of the method again as a result, and then inside that is the actual data. Whereas in the REST case, everything that's sent back is just the actual data. I appear to be stuck on this slide. A moment. Okay. All right, here we go. Now, as some of you are probably familiar with already, Open Data Protocol is a protocol that Microsoft has been working on in the, but it's open to the internet community to come up with standards for it, which pretty much works on top of REST to bring everything into a standardized protocol for sending and requesting data. So it works in the spirit of REST, using GET requests to get data and POST requests to put data. Again, the requests are indicated through the URL. And it also defines ways to make complex queries, such as filtering. As we can see here, we have this request filtering for all the categories, where the category is equal to 4, I would say. Yeah. So if the category ID plus 4 is 8, then it would return that category. So this is a sort of roundabout way of doing things. And then here's another filter using starts with, find categories whose names start with C. And these could be chained together with ands or ors and things like that. Now, results are returned as XML or JSON. There are basically 3 standard ways of returning data from OData right now. Is it XML, which is called standard format called Atom. There's JSON, and there's I believe it's called JSON-P, which is a sort of stripped down version of the JSON responses. And to all of you, I think what will be often relevant is that SharePoint 2010 provides OData services through its OData list service and its Excel REST services. And there are a number of other OData services popping up all over the web. To learn more about OData, you can go to odata.org. That's sort of the home point for OData and its standards. This is a nice page that Microsoft has set up that explains some of the concepts about how to use OData. And then Netflix has a nice OData service that we like to use in demos. So if you go to this page, you can see some examples of some OData queries. Now, starting with InfoPath 2010, InfoPath has now started to provide a way to codelessly query REST web services right from your forms. So the idea is, I'm sure you're all familiar with this data connection wizard. You would set up a receive connection, select REST web service here. After that, it'll ask you for a REST web service URL. And typically what you would want to provide is a URL that would return the data in a format such that InfoPath could figure out what the return format looks like. So here I'm going to be querying the Netflix movie catalog, and I'm just retrieving the top 2 movies from that catalog so that InfoPath can recognize it as repeating data and find out what all the fields are going to be when I query it with a real query. So once that connection is added, then you can go about actually using it. So InfoPath 2010 adds a new rule type, which is to change a REST URL. So basically, when you want to query some REST data, it'll often be based on a field value inside your form. So you'd indicate the data connection whose URL you want to modify, and then use an XPath expression to pull it together into a URL. So here I'm concatenating a field value into the URL. And after that, you'll typically want to perform a query operation to query that data. So now let me go into a demo of this concept. Okay, so here we have InfoPath 2010. I'm going to create a blank browser form. And I will call this Netflix catalog search. So first thing I'll do is add a data connection. Receive data. REST web service. And I've set aside the URL for this right here in Notepad. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, this is going to query the top 2 movies in their catalog based on some sorting order. It doesn't really matter which movies they are as long as it returns them. Okay, and since those movies don't really mean anything, I'm going to disable the automatically retrieve data option. So that has been added. I'll rename my fields to Netflix search. I'll add a field for my search value. Okay. And below this, I will add a button for actually performing the search. Oops, like that. Like this. Okay. Now, continuing to lay out the controls. This is pretty much a standard Atom format here. We have, this is a feed, there are 1 or more entries, and then inside the properties node, there's a list of properties. As we can see, these are movie-specific properties, ID, name, synopsis, release year, and things like that. So I will create a repeating section from the entry group. And I'll put a layout table here. Split it into 2 columns. So under here we have box art, which are basically URLs to the box art for each movie. So I'll create an image with a large URL. Picture control, and I'll make that a little bigger. And over here I will show the name as the calculated value box. I'll increase the font size, make it bold. And then I will add the synopsis as well. Calculated value box. And I'll make sure that this is set up to be a multi-line. Okay, it's wrapping the text. Okay, so the last thing I'm going to do here is set up the rules on this search button. So I'll call this query movies. I will change the URL to filter starts with. And I'll put a single quote here to start a string. This will be all concatenated together. So I will insert string here. Actually, rather than starts with, I'll use substring of. We'll find anything that has the search string anywhere in the title. So I'll close that quotation, and then we're comparing this against the name property, which matches up to the name node over in the properties. And okay, close that quotation mark there. And there we have it. So hopefully I did that right. We'll see in a moment. And then I'll add an action to query the data. Okay, so let's give this a preview. So let's say I wanted to search for movies that contain the word Batman. Click search here. Of course, since I'm in preview mode, it's giving me this warning, so I'll click yes. Querying the results. And there we have it. So we have the box art displayed nicely on the left, the titles enlarged and in bold, and then the synopsis below it. Let's do one more search. So as you can see here, it's finding titles that have Paris anywhere in the title. And again, the OData protocol will allow you to use complex queries to limit the number of results and things like that. So you can do all sorts of paging and things like that. Really quite handy. Okay. So I'll go back to my slide deck. Just give this a moment to upload. Okay, so that was a pretty simple demo of using OData in InfoPath. Of course, the REST queries aren't limited to OData. You can use any sort of REST service that returns XML. So you've got quite a wide horizon there. I also suggest checking out the Channel 9 videos that Qdabra did a while ago on REST services, particularly the ones that Hilary Stupa put together. You can find those at this URL. I have also added a blog post to my blog on InfoPathDev.com that goes through a technique for using REST web services in InfoPath 2007, which doesn't support them out of the box. So if you have any clients that or users that are still using 2007, I'd recommend checking that out at InfoPathDev.com. Now I'm going to briefly hand the control over to Marcy, who's going to tell you a little bit about our training courses.
Hello, everybody. I just need to find my slide. Hold on just a sec. Okay, great. We've got a couple of training programs coming up next month, both an online webinar and an in-person class in Kirkland, Washington. It's an InfoPath Master training class. Some of you in the webinar may have already even taken our training. But we are offering for these 2 courses coming up in September a little bit of a special. We've got $50 off the online class or $100 off the in-person class. So if you want to get details about that, just send an email to coursemanager@qdabra.com. We also have a brand new class coming up. We don't have the date set for it yet, but it should be in the next few months, an InfoPath 101 class, so great for those who are absolute beginners. And if you, again, are interested in being added to that list of notifications when we get those dates scheduled, just send an email. And that's pretty much all I have.
Okay, thank you, Marcy. Okay, so now we'll start taking some questions. It looks like we've got a question from Stuart. Okay. I believe SQL Server does have a way to create an OData service. I don't know a whole lot about it, but I would imagine that it provides pretty good capability for querying SQL, but it may not allow for joins and things. Given that I don't know a whole lot about it, I can't comment on REST versus QueryDB, but I'd certainly be happy to look into it and let you know. Oh, okay. So just to repeat Stuart's question, because these don't get recorded, he asked, can you query SQL data using REST, and if so, are there any general guidelines when to query SQL Server data using REST versus QueryDB? Okay, so Kevin has a suggested future webinar topic, which is preparing an Excel file to be accessed and calculated values pulled into InfoPath using REST. Great suggestion. I can also note that an interesting thing that you can do with Excel services is you can set up a chart in an Excel spreadsheet on the Excel services, and using InfoPath's REST data connections, pass in a few values dynamically into the spreadsheet that will sort of serve as temporary values, and then pull back the URL for the chart, which you can then display in your InfoPath form. So that's a very nice way of just generating charts and graphs from the data in your InfoPath form. I think that would be a very nice webinar topic if we haven't done one already. All right, looks like we're a bit thin on questions this evening. If anyone has any comments they'd like to share, we'd be happy to take those too. We're always looking to provide better webinars.